Turkey Al-Sheikh's takeover tweet. Hope or hype for Manchester United? Welcome to Unite United News, your trusted home for cutting through the noise and delivering the truth about Manchester United. When takeover rumors start flying, when billionaires tweet cryptic messages, when hope and speculation collide, you need someone to separate fact from fiction. That someone is us. We do not deal in fantasy or clickbait. We bring you reality, analysis, and honest opinions about what is really happening at our beloved club. Today, we need to talk about something that sent shockwaves through the United fan base this week. A Saudi billionaire named Turkey Al-Sheikh posted a message suggesting Manchester United could soon have new owners. Fans immediately started dreaming. Could this finally be the end of the Glazer era? Could United be about to enter a new chapter with serious investment? Or is this just another false alarm in a long history of takeover rumors? Let me take you through everything you need to know. The tweet that started everything. Let me start by showing you exactly what Turkey Al-Sheikh posted that got everyone so excited. On Wednesday night, Al-Sheikh tweeted, "The best news I heard today is that Manchester United is now in an advanced stage of completing a deal to sell to a new investor. I hope he's better than the previous owners." Read that again. A Saudi billionaire with deep connections to the Saudi government and sporting world is claiming that Manchester United is close to being sold to a new investor. This is massive news if it is true. The reaction from United fans was immediate and intense. Social media exploded. People started celebrating. Hope flooded back into a fan base that has been starved of good news for months. Finally, fans thought the Glazers might be gone. Finally, United might get owners who actually care about the club. Finally, we might see the kind of investment that Manchester City and Newcastle have enjoyed. But before we get carried away, before we start planning the parade, we need to ask some very important questions. Who is Turkey Al-Sheikh? Where did he get this information? Is it reliable? And most importantly, could this actually happen? Let me take you through all of this step by step. Who is Turkey Al-Sheikh? Before we can assess whether his tweet means anything, we need to understand who Turkey Al-Sheikh actually is and why his words might carry weight. Turkey Al-Sheikh is a Saudi Arabian businessman and government official. He is the chairman of the General Entertainment Authority in Saudi Arabia, which is a government body responsible for organizing entertainment, cultural, and sporting events in the kingdom. Most importantly, Al-Sheikh is the founder of something called Riyadh Season. If you follow boxing or combat sports, you will definitely have heard of this. Riyadh Season is basically Saudi Arabia's massive push to become a global entertainment destination. They organize huge events, bringing in the biggest names in sports and entertainment to perform in Saudi Arabia. The amount of money they throw at these events is staggering. In boxing alone, Al-Sheikh has organized some of the biggest fights in recent years. Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk. Plans for Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. These are mega fights that generate hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Al-Sheikh has also brought WWE to Saudi Arabia. The professional wrestling company now holds several major events in the kingdom every year, including a planned WrestleMania in 2027. For non-wrestling fans, WrestleMania is basically the Super Bowl of wrestling. It is their biggest event of the year. Bringing it to Saudi Arabia is a huge deal. So Al-Sheikh is not some random guy tweeting about United. He is a major player in the global sports and entertainment industry. He has access to serious money and serious connections. When he says something about a potential sports investment, people listen. But here is the key question. Does his involvement in boxing and wrestling mean he has reliable information about a Manchester United takeover? That is much less clear. Al-Sheikh's football connection. Let me tell you about Turkey Al-Sheikh's one venture into football ownership, because it is important context for understanding whether he might be involved in a United takeover. In 2019, Al-Sheikh purchased Almeria, a Spanish football club. This was seen as a significant move at the time. Saudi money coming into European football. Almeria getting the investment to push for La Liga. But how has that venture gone? Well, Almeria currently sit 9th in the second tier of Spanish football. They are in the Segunda Division, not La Liga. They have not set the world on fire. They have not become a major force in Spanish football. This tells us a few things. First, Al-Sheikh does have some interest in football ownership. He has put his money where his mouth is at least once. Second, his football venture has not been particularly successful. Almeria remain a mid-table second division club despite his investment. This is relevant when we consider whether Al-Sheikh could be a potential buyer for Manchester United. He has experience in football ownership, but not particularly impressive experience. He knows the sport exists, but he has not proven he can run a football club successfully at the highest level. Compare this to the Saudi ownership at Newcastle United. That takeover was backed by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which has over £700 billion in assets. That is sovereign wealth fund money. That is serious, sustained investment capability. Al-Sheikh, while wealthy, operates on a much smaller scale. His net worth, which we will discuss in detail soon, does not compare to the Saudi PIF or other major football club owners. The numbers that tell the real story. Now let me hit you with some numbers, because this is where Al-Sheikh's tweet starts to fall apart. According to CEO Today magazine, Turkey Al-Sheikh's net worth is estimated at around $2.8 billion. In British pounds, that is approximately £2.08 billion. That sounds like a lot of money, right? And it is. Most of us cannot even comprehend being that wealthy. But in the world of Premier League football ownership, especially for a club the size of Manchester United, it is not nearly enough. Let me give you some comparisons to put this in perspective. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, who currently owns 27.7% of Manchester United through Ineos, has a net worth estimated by Forbes at $17.2 billion. That is about £12.8 billion. Ratcliffe is more than 6 times wealthier than Al-Sheikh. The Glazer family, who still own the majority of Manchester United, have a combined net worth estimated at around $10 billion, or £7.46 billion. They are nearly 4 times wealthier than Al-Sheikh. Manchester United is valued at somewhere between £5 and £7 billion depending on who you ask. To buy the club outright, you would need not just that money but also funds for investment in infrastructure, players, and operations. Could someone with a net worth of £2.08 billion realistically buy Manchester United? The simple answer is no. Not even close. They would need to use all their wealth just to buy a portion of the club, leaving nothing for actually running it. This is the fundamental problem with the idea that Al-Sheikh could be the mysterious new investor he is tweeting about. The numbers simply do not add up. Could Al-Sheikh front for Saudi PIF? But wait, some of you are thinking, maybe Al-Sheikh is not buying United himself. Maybe he is fronting for a larger Saudi bid. Maybe the Saudi Public Investment Fund is planning another Premier League takeover like they did with Newcastle. This is possible and it is worth exploring. After all, Al-Sheikh has close connections to the Saudi government through his role with the General Entertainment Authority. If Saudi Arabia wanted to buy Manchester United, Al-Sheikh could certainly be involved in some capacity. But here is the problem with that theory. If the Saudi PIF were buying Manchester United, why would Turkey Al-Sheikh be the one tweeting about it? The Saudi PIF is a sophisticated operation. They do not leak major acquisition plans through social media posts from entertainment executives. When the Saudi PIF bought Newcastle United, the process was secretive, professional, and went through proper channels. There were no cryptic tweets. There was no premature celebration. Everything was handled properly. The way Al-Sheikh tweeted about this supposed United takeover does not match how serious financial transactions happen. It feels more like someone who heard a rumor and decided to share it publicly, or someone who is trying to generate buzz for reasons we do not fully understand. If the Saudi PIF were actually in advanced talks to buy Manchester United, we would not find out about it from a tweet. We would hear about it through official channels, regulatory filings, and serious journalism from outlets like the Financial Times or Bloomberg. Understanding the drag-along rights. Al-Sheikh's tweet comes at an interesting time because of something called drag-along rights that the Glazers now possess. Let me explain what this means in simple terms. When Sir Jim Ratcliffe bought his stake in Manchester United through Ineos, the deal included something called drag-along rights for the Glazers. These rights mean that after a certain period of time, the Glazers can force Ratcliffe to sell his shares if they decide to sell the entire club. This prevents a situation where the Glazers want to sell but Ratcliffe refuses, holding up the whole deal. It gives the majority owners the power to make decisions about selling without being held hostage by minority shareholders. These drag-along rights apparently can be activated now or soon. This means the Glazers theoretically could sell Manchester United in its entirety if they wanted to, even if Ratcliffe did not want to sell his portion. This is probably why Al-Sheikh's tweet generated so much interest. The timing makes it seem plausible. The Glazers could legally sell right now. Maybe someone is actually buying. Maybe this is finally happening. But here is what you need to understand. Just because the Glazers can sell does not mean they are selling. Just because someone tweets about advanced talks does not mean those talks actually exist. The Glazers have shown absolutely no indication that they want to sell the entire club. Ratcliffe has shown no indication he wants out. Everything we know suggests the current ownership structure will remain in place for the foreseeable future. Why would Al-Sheikh tweet this? This is the question that bothers me most about this entire situation. Why would Turkey Al-Sheikh post this tweet in the first place? There are several possible explanations, and none of them are particularly good. Possibility 1. He genuinely heard something from a source he trusts and decided to share it publicly. This would be unprofessional and unusual for someone in his position, but it is possible. Maybe he was excited about the news and did not think through the implications of tweeting about it. Possibility 2. He heard a rumor, did not verify it, and shared it anyway. This would be irresponsible but also very human. People in positions of power sometimes share unverified information, especially on social media where the barriers to posting are so low. Possibility 3. He is trying to generate buzz or pressure someone into making a move. Maybe by publicly stating that talks are advanced, he hopes to push negotiations forward or force the Glazers into actually selling. This would be a strategic play, though a risky one. Possibility 4. He is simply wrong. He misunderstood something he heard, or his source was unreliable, or he confused Manchester United with another club. Mistakes happen even with successful business people. Possibility 5. He is trolling or seeking attention. I hate to suggest this, but it is possible. Social media does strange things to people. Maybe Al-Sheikh wanted to see what kind of reaction he would get from United fans. None of these possibilities fill me with confidence that his tweet represents real, actionable information about a Manchester United takeover. In fact, most of them suggest the opposite. The pattern of false hope. Let me talk about something painful for Manchester United fans. We have been here before. Many times. Ever since the Glazers became unpopular at Old Trafford, there have been constant rumors about potential takeovers. Middle Eastern investors, American billionaires, British consortiums. Every few months, new stories emerge about someone wanting to buy the club. Remember when the Qatari bid was supposed to buy United from the Glazers? Fans got excited. We allowed ourselves to dream. And then nothing happened. The Glazers stayed, selling only a minority stake to Ratcliffe instead. Remember all the other rumored investors over the years. The Saudis, the Dubai Group, various American billionaires. None of them resulted in actual takeovers. This is the pattern Manchester United fans know too well. Hope rises. Rumors swirl. Nothing happens. Disappointment sets in. And we are left still dealing with the Glazers. Al-Sheikh's tweet fits perfectly into this pattern. Exciting news that gets fans' hopes up. Vague enough to avoid being definitively proven false. But ultimately, likely to amount to nothing. I hate being the person who crushes hope. I want the Glazers gone as much as any United fan. But I also believe in being realistic and preparing people for disappointment rather than setting them up for a fall. What real takeover news looks like. Let me explain what real takeover news actually looks like so you can compare it to Al-Sheikh's tweet. Real takeover news comes through proper channels. You get reports from serious financial journalists at outlets like the Financial Times, Bloomberg, or Reuters. These journalists have real sources inside investment banks, law firms, and companies involved in the transaction. Real takeover news involves regulatory filings. In England, certain ownership changes must be reported to the Premier League and Companies House. You get documentation, not just tweets. Real takeover news is detailed. You get information about valuations, deal structures, timelines, and parties involved. You do not get vague statements about advanced talks. Real takeover news is confirmed by multiple independent sources. One person saying something is not enough. You need corroboration from different people with knowledge of the situation. Real takeover news involves official statements from the clubs and parties involved. Eventually, someone puts out a press release or makes an official comment. Al-Sheikh's tweet has none of these characteristics. It is one person making a vague claim on social media with no corroboration, no detail, and no follow-up from official sources. This is not how real takeover news breaks. This is how rumors spread. The Ineos factor. Let me talk about Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos, because their position is crucial to understanding whether any takeover could actually happen. Ratcliffe spent £1.3 billion to buy a 27.7% stake in Manchester United. He also gained control of football operations as part of the deal. He has been implementing his vision for the club, bringing in new executives, changing the culture, making difficult decisions. Do you really think Ratcliffe would walk away from that investment and that control after less than a year? Does that make any sense from his perspective? Ratcliffe is 72 years old. He has said that buying into Manchester United is the fulfillment of a lifelong dream. He is a United fan. This is personal for him, not just business. Yes, the Glazers could theoretically force him to sell using drag-along rights. But would they? Why would they? Ratcliffe is helping run the club. He is not causing problems. He is actually doing some of the difficult work that the Glazers never wanted to do themselves. The current arrangement works for the Glazers. They still own the majority of the club. They still profit from it. But they have someone else dealing with the day-to-day headaches of running a football club. Why would they blow up this arrangement to sell to some mysterious new investor that no reputable source has confirmed exists? It makes no sense. Which is why I am deeply skeptical of Al-Sheikh's claim. What the Glazers actually want. Let me be blunt about what the Glazer family actually wants from Manchester United. They want money. That is it. That is the entire story. The Glazers do not care about football. They do not care about United's history or traditions. They do not care about winning trophies beyond how it affects the club's valuation. They care about extracting value from their investment. They have done this successfully for nearly 2 decades, taking hundreds of millions of pounds out of the club in dividends and payments. Right now, Manchester United's value is lower than it was a few years ago. The team's performance has been poor. The lack of Champions League football hurts revenue. The brand is not as strong as it once was. Would the Glazers sell now when the value is depressed? Or would they wait, hoping that better performance on the pitch increases the club's value, allowing them to sell for more later? Everything we know about the Glazers suggests they will wait. They are patient. They are willing to ride out difficult periods. They have shown no urgency to sell, even when fans have protested and results have been terrible. The idea that they are suddenly in advanced talks to sell the club makes no sense based on their past behavior and current incentives. The impact on United fans. Let me talk about what this kind of tweet does to Manchester United fans, because it is important to understand the emotional impact. When you support a club like United but hate the owners, you live in a state of constant hope that change is coming. Every rumor gets your attention. Every hint of a possible takeover makes your heart race. Then someone like Al-Sheikh tweets about advanced talks. And for a moment, you let yourself believe. You imagine what United could be with proper owners. You dream about competing with Manchester City on equal financial terms. You picture the transfers you could make, the stadium improvements, the return to glory. And then reality sets in. The tweet gets questioned. The numbers do not add up. No reputable sources confirm the story. And you realize it was probably nothing all along. This emotional roller coaster is exhausting. It is painful. It is cruel, even if unintentionally so. This is why I am spending so much time breaking down this story. Because I do not want United fans to invest emotional energy in false hope. I want you to understand why this is probably nothing so you can protect yourself from disappointment. If I am wrong, if somehow Al-Sheikh's tweet turns out to be accurate, I will be the first to celebrate and admit I was too skeptical. But based on everything I know, everything I have analyzed, and all the evidence available, this is almost certainly not real. What would need to happen for a real takeover? Let me lay out what would actually need to happen for Manchester United to be sold to new owners, because understanding the process shows why Al-Sheikh's tweet is unlikely to be accurate. First, a buyer would need to emerge who has enough money to actually buy the club. We are talking about someone or some entity with access to at least £6 to £8 billion when you factor in the purchase price plus funds for investment and operations. Second, this buyer would need to approach the Glazers with a serious offer. Not just expressions of interest, but actual money on the table with clear terms. Third, the Glazers would need to decide that selling now makes sense for them financially. They would need to believe they cannot get a better price by waiting. Fourth, negotiations would need to happen between the buyer, the Glazers, and Ratcliffe. Deal structures would need to be worked out. Legal agreements would need to be drafted. Fifth, regulatory approvals would need to be secured. The Premier League has an owners and directors test. The deal would need to pass that. Sixth, financing would need to be arranged if the buyer is not paying all cash. Banks would need to be involved. Due diligence would need to be completed. This entire process takes months at minimum, often more than a year. It involves hundreds of people including lawyers, bankers, accountants, and advisors. It generates paper trails, regulatory filings, and leaks to serious journalists. Does any of this sound like what we have seen based on Al-Sheikh's tweet? No. We have one tweet with no corroboration, no details, no follow-up, and no confirmation from any reliable source. This is not how takeovers happen. This is how rumors happen. The question of timing. Let me address one more aspect of this story. The timing. Why would this rumor emerge now in October 2025? Manchester United are struggling on the pitch. 2 wins from 6 matches. Ruben Amorim under pressure. The team looking dysfunctional. This is not exactly prime time to sell a football club. Buyers want to purchase clubs when things are going well, when value is high, when the trajectory is positive. They do not want to buy during crises when the price should be depressed. If the Glazers were going to sell, you would expect it to happen when United just won a trophy or just finished in the top 4, or just hired a brilliant new manager who has the team playing great football. You would want to sell when optimism is high and buyers are willing to pay premium prices. Right now is literally the worst time to sell Manchester United from the Glazers' perspective, which makes the timing of Al-Sheikh's tweet even more suspicious. It feels like something someone would tweet during a period of fan discontent, knowing it would generate engagement and attention. It does not feel like something someone would tweet because they have real information about an actual transaction. What reputable journalists are saying. In the days since Al-Sheikh's tweet, what have reputable Manchester United journalists reported? Nothing. Radio silence. No confirmation. No follow-up stories about mysterious buyers or advanced talks. If there were real substance to this claim, journalists like David Ornstein at The Athletic or Laurie Whitwell, or any of the other well-connected United reporters would be all over it. They would be confirming or denying. They would be providing details. The fact that none of them have touched this story tells you everything you need to know. It is not real. It is not worth their time to even debunk it. This is how you can tell the difference between real news and social media noise. Real news gets picked up and reported by serious journalists. Social media noise remains contained to social media. My final assessment. Let me give you my final assessment of Turkey Al-Sheikh's tweet and what it means for Manchester United. I do not believe there is any truth to the claim that United is in advanced talks to be sold to a new investor. I believe Al-Sheikh either heard an unverified rumor and shared it irresponsibly, or he is simply wrong, or he is intentionally stirring the pot for reasons we do not understand. The financial numbers do not support Al-Sheikh himself being able to buy United. The lack of confirmation from reputable sources is damning. The silence from official channels tells us this is not real. I understand why United fans want to believe this. I understand the desperation for the Glazers to sell. I feel it too. But we cannot let wishful thinking cloud our judgment. The Glazers are not selling Manchester United right now. Jim Ratcliffe is not going anywhere. The current ownership structure will remain in place for the foreseeable future. This is the reality we have to accept as Manchester United fans. We are stuck with the Glazers for now. No mysterious Saudi investor is coming to save us. No advanced talks are happening behind the scenes. What we can control is supporting the team, demanding better performances, and holding the current owners accountable for their decisions. What we cannot do is waste emotional energy on false hope and unverified rumors. What United fans should focus on instead. Rather than getting caught up in unlikely takeover rumors, let me tell you what Manchester United fans should actually focus on. First, the team's performances on the pitch. That is what we can directly influence through our support. Get behind the players. Create the kind of atmosphere at Old Trafford that helps the team win. Second, holding Ruben Amorim accountable for his decisions. If his tactics are not working, if he is making poor choices, we have every right to question him. Demand better. Third, the January transfer window. United need reinforcements in several positions. Fans should be pressuring the club to invest wisely and strengthen the squad. Fourth, the infrastructure issues. Old Trafford needs major work. The training facilities need upgrades. These are things the current owners should be investing in regardless of whether a takeover happens. Fifth, building a sustainable winning culture. This goes beyond just signing expensive players. It is about having a clear football philosophy, developing young talent, and creating an environment where success can be sustained. These are real issues that affect Manchester United right now. These are things worth spending your energy on. Not takeover rumors from Saudi businessmen on Twitter. A message to those spreading rumors. Let me also send a message to anyone thinking about posting unverified claims about Manchester United ownership on social media. Think about the impact of your words. United fans are desperate for good news. They are emotionally invested in this club. When you tweet something suggesting the Glazers might sell, you are playing with real people's emotions. If you have genuine, verified information, share it responsibly through appropriate channels. Contact reputable journalists. Let them verify and report it properly. But if you just heard a rumor, if you are speculating, if you are sharing unverified claims, please think twice. The harm you do by giving false hope outweighs any engagement or attention you might get from posting. Football club ownership is serious business involving billions of pounds and millions of fans. Treat it with the seriousness it deserves. Final thoughts. The Turkey Al-Sheikh tweet about Manchester United being in advanced takeover talks is almost certainly not based on real information. All the evidence suggests this is either a misunderstanding, an unverified rumor, or something worse. Manchester United fans should not waste time or emotional energy hoping this leads somewhere. It will not. The Glazers are not selling. New investors are not coming. This is not the beginning of a new era. I know this is hard to hear. I know you want the Glazers gone. So do I. But we have to be realistic. We have to protect ourselves from the emotional damage that false hope causes. The fight to improve Manchester United continues through other means. Through supporting the team. Through demanding better from current ownership. Through making our voices heard about what needs to change. But it will not happen through mysterious Saudi investors emerging from nowhere to buy the club based on a single tweet from someone who cannot even afford to make the purchase. Stay grounded, stay realistic, and save your hope for things that actually have a chance of happening. Stay connected with United News. Thank you for reading this comprehensive analysis of the Turkey Al-Sheikh takeover claims. We know it is not the hopeful message many of you wanted to hear, but at United News, we are committed to giving you the truth rather than feeding you comfortable lies. When takeover rumors swirl, when hope and speculation mix, we will always be here to provide clear-eyed analysis based on facts and evidence. We will not chase clicks with false hope. We will not encourage you to believe things that are not true. This is what makes United News different. We respect you enough to be honest, even when that honesty is painful. We trust you to handle the truth rather than treating you like children who need to be protected from reality. Keep coming back to United News for honest, thorough analysis of everything affecting Manchester United. We are your reliable source in a world full of noise and speculation. Stay strong, stay grounded, and remember that real change at Manchester United will come from sustained pressure and smart decisions, not from miraculous takeovers that drop from the sky. Glory, Man United. We will get through this difficult period together, with clear eyes and realistic expectations.